Hey, what's up? I'm Ted. My producer name's Todd Champ. This is my beat battle breakdown video. I've been entering this battle for like 2 years. It's been a while, on and off. And I saw he was doing a battle today because he came back with the streams. And I was like, let's do it. And yeah, I might be eating a chicken biscuit while doing this video since it's my breakfast. Hey man, chicken biscuits, gotta love them. Okay, so let's start with the chords. I don't know much about music theory, but I do know enough to play chords and then change it a little bit to make it sound how I want to. So that's sort of what I did here. So bass chords. This is a really good, nice little plug-in Harmo chord. It's free. It tells you with a pretty decent accuracy what the chords are. So there they are. Yeah, so that was kind of like the main progression. Basically these two chords, and then the next two are just the same two chords, but transposed down. And then with little embellishments and random things and maybe a few different notes added. That's just a good trick. If you have two nice chords, try repeating them, but then transpose them down to half steps in your MIDI editor. It just sounds really nice, and I use it way too much, but you know what? It works. So those are the bass chords, and then once I had those bass chords, I wanted to add some little piano melodies to it. Now, this is something that I learned recently in Ableton. Usually, the default setting, when you want to re-record MIDI over an existing MIDI track, it'll replace the entire track. So for example, like let me just do this right now. I'll hit record. Like it replaces everything, which I don't want. But if you hit this plus sign up here, it won't delete the MIDI that's there when you play, and it'll add to it. So now I do this, and oh, hold on. There we go. See, it's like all new MIDI stuff that I added, and the existing stuff stays there. That's what I did when I added these melodies here. I think I played just this part. So there's two octaves. I think it's the same part. Yeah, so I played this and then I just like copy pasted it, move the MIDI up an octave. Yeah, cool. So let's talk about actual processing of this piano. So I use Lab Soft Piano, free, really good piano sound. I love it. And this is a piano preset rack that I kind of copy paste just as a starting point. It's got this piano EQ, which is just a stock Ableton EQ. So Ableton will have all of these great EQ presets that are sort of just a starting point, but it's good if you're trying to get into EQ and you don't really know what to do, just copy paste it from here. So then we got Virtual Mix Rack. I don't have all of the plugins in the Virtual Mix Rack plugin series, but I have a few. This one's a preamp. This revival kind of gives it some shininess and some thickness. And then to be honest, I have no idea what this does. Yeah, so that's Virtual Mix Rack. And then I've got Sketch Cassette. Give us some wobbly effect, some dropouts, a little bit of compression. Then I got RC20, more wobble, some slight wobble this time, a little bit of noise, just a little RC20 preset. And then a little compression, CLA2A, nothing crazy. And then this plugin, RX950. This is an analog digital to digital analog converter. Don't really know what that means. I know that it gives a lot of nice natural analog sounding saturation, and I use this on a lot of stuff. I kind of like use this like salt, you know, kind of put it everywhere, but too much of it is gonna like make it too salty and kind of gross. Just the right amount is gonna bring out a lot, I think. And then at the end I have Ozone 9, which to be honest is kind of unnecessary. I have an imager on here, so the low frequencies are being thinned a little bit, and then the higher frequencies like 1K, 1.4K upwards are getting widened. And then just this maximizer, which barely does anything. I mean, all it really does is just make it a little louder. And then I have the sidechain compression with my kick, and then the EQ here just takes out the lows, since there can be some muddy stuff down here that I just want to take out. So that's the whole piano rack. After I finished that, I just copy and pasted the whole MIDI onto a new track with the same piano preset, except I use this Kalen Ellis Essential, what is it? Kalen Ellis Essential Rhodes. This is a sick Ableton rack. It's honestly an amazing electric piano sound. Probably one of the best I've ever heard, and he released it very recently. Amazing. Really solid. I used it a lot. So I had those two layers, and then I wanted some more layers. So I copy pasted the same MIDI, and I took out the melodies that I played, just the bass chords, and I've got Vital up here, just some sine waves. This here, you can just create multiple voices. So I just like kind of created a little chorus effect with that. And then I just increased the attack a tiny bit, so there's no clicking sound when you first hear the MIDI. Lots of low end. filling out the mids, the low mids. Gotta love filling out the low mids, you know? And then lastly, this last chord layer is just the same sine chords, but up an octave. Yep. So that's all the chord sounds right there. Cool. Next, I did drums. So I organized my drums for this video just in my perks, hats, and then snare and kick. So I started off with just snare and kick. So I just put the snare on 2 and 4, and then I like to play a lot of my drums in MIDI. Gives a lot more of a human feel. So this civil kick is from a recent Count and Kalen Ellis free pack. It's an amazing kick. Just put the snare on 2 and 4, and then just knock this out on my MIDI keyboard. Just played this. And then the hats I played a MIDI as well. So we've got normal hats. These hats are from the Memblem Neighbor Sound Pack, Volume 1. Amazing hi-hat. And then this open hat is just a stock Ableton open hat. And then all my perk tracks. I'm just gonna do this one layer at a time. We've got this little one. We've got these jangling keys that kind of just play throughout. All this was played in MIDI. Then we have this cowbell. This cowbell, I think I just accidentally forgot to copy paste this to the rest of the track, but I kind of like it. It kind of gives some variation to have the cowbells in and then taken out. Next we have this Kalen Ellis perk loop thing. Kind of in the background. And then we got this shaker. And this shaker has a Haas effect on it. So what the Haas effect actually is, if you take your delay stock plugin and you make the left and right slightly different millisecond times, it'll create the stereo effect that sounds really cool. And that's all that's doing. It's just making it really wide. And lastly, it's like a little like downbeat. It's almost like a hat. Yeah, baby vinyl hat. I think it's a Monty Booker hat. You know? That's the whole drums with the chords. So let's talk about the drum processing. So first I have this glue compressor. It's kind of mixed in, so it's not doing much to the dry wets at 24%. Then from here on out, this drum chain was inspired a lot by Omari Jazz. Shout out to Omari Jazz, insane producer. I took a drum chain that he put in his subrewards, and I switched out some plugins that I didn't have, and this is what I came up with, but it's heavily inspired by that drum chain. First, through Sketch Cassette, the compression is on, and the compression is being mixed in, so it's not at 100% compression. I think it's mixed in at like 40%. Next, I have Decapitator, and I put it on the drum fattener setting. More saturation, nice saturation. Then through J37, not doing much, some saturation here as well. And then another instance of Sketch Cassette. And then I put it through Drum Bus. And then RX950, that salt plugin that I was talking about earlier. And then DS10 Drum Shaper to give us some more attack. So I'm gonna take all of these plugins off right now and then add them one at a time to see how they actually affect the drums. And yeah, that's the drum chain. Sorry, just having some more chicken biscuit. Okay, let's do bass now. So I'm using the Contact Rickenbacker bass. Amazing bass plugin. Shout out to Datsun. Datsun was the one that hooked me up with this. So usually I have the bass line in my head, but I'm not a good enough keys player to play it correctly the first time. So what I do is focus on the rhythm of the bass line when I'm playing it and then fix the notes later. So this is what I came up with. And then that repeats, with the exception of this little run here. So bass processing, I've got this Ableton EQ, E-Bass Vintage, and then I'm putting it through a little compression, the CLA2A again, and then I put it through R-Bass. Kenny, I think I found this through one of your streams, the Live Bass Love preset, real nice. And then lastly, Decapitator, I put it on the bass preset Beefy to make it nice and beefy. So yeah, that's the bass. So now I'm thinking about where am I gonna put the sample. Here's the sample. I basically just chopped a little bit of it and turned it into a lead. So this is what that sounds like. So that's kind of like the A section of this, and then I had a little B section. took out some of the lows because there's a lot of crap down there. And then I added a little delay, as you can hear, just for some niceness. I also have this being sent to a delay send, and it says H delay. So that was cool. But then I was like, well, in this B section, this lead is kind of cheesy and kind of weird. So I want to add another lead on top of it to make it less weird. So I added this sine wave. So since I don't have a vibrato wheel, what I like to do is take this chorus ensemble stock plugin and go to vibrato and just automate the vibrato like this. So there's a little bit of vibrato the entire time, but then when I get to certain parts I want to embellish, I'll just kind of ease in the vibrato. You can sort of hear it at the end there. Right here, I duplicated this sine wave and put it 1 octave higher. And then I wanted to add another sine wave lead that's got some reverb, so I have it going to a delay send and a reverb send. And there's all the leads. From here, I probably had about 15 minutes left, so I just added whatever stuff I could. I added these bells from Contact Hybrid Keys, completely free plugin, a lot of really great sounds I use a lot. I also added this bloop sound, also from Hybrid Keys. And that's just going throughout the entire beat. And then I added some epic effects. With some reverb. Damn, so I recorded my outro and I forgot that I didn't go over my master chain. So let me do that right now. Shout out to Gon for helping a lot with just my master chain in general. He taught me a whole lot, which is really dope. So first, this EQ is taking out 20 hertz all the way to 20,000 hertz above and below. Then I've got this compressor. So usually what I would do for master compression with the stock compressor, let's go to this website, delay and reverb time calculator, put in the BPM of your track. And then for the attack of my compressor, I usually use 1/3. And then for the release, I usually do 1/16. And then I look at the milliseconds and that's what I use. So in this case, since I was rushing, I kind of just estimated it since I've done it a few times before at around 85, 84 BPM. Put it on peak and make sure you're getting, I don't know, around like 1 decibel of compression and then apply 1 decibel of gain back afterwards. So after that, I have a pretty relaxed glue compressor here, not doing much, not mixed in very much, only at 16%. Then I have Black Box Analog Design. I got this from Plugin Alliance. I think it was free when I got it. I'm not sure if it's free anymore. It's based off of a piece of hardware that I think a lot of people use. So I add a little saturation. This pentode and triode, I'm going to be honest, I have no idea what that means, but I know when I turn the knob up, it sounds good. So it's a big old thumbs up from me. And then a little bit of air, which I think is just high-end shine. Then I put it through J37 on the 888 formula. And then I put it through Soothe and I use a mastering preset. Ah, this great song is even greater! Exclamation point. It's got to be good, right? You know? And then this EQ is boosting the sides of the track. So you can change the mode of the stock Ableton EQ from stereo, which is what it's usually on, to mid side. And then you can change from the mid, which is just the mono signal, to the sides, which is the stereo signal. And you can EQ them differently. So for the mids, I'm not doing anything. But for the sides, I'm taking out some of the lows, so the bass is more mono. And most of the bass at this point might just be some garbage, but just taking that out. And then I'm basically making the whole track a little wider by boosting the higher frequencies on the side. So it makes it sound wider, it makes it sound super full. Lastly, I've got free clip. So this is a free, no pun intended, clipper. I have oversampling on 2 times and I'm just boosting it a little bit. I'm not actually clipping much. I basically get to the point just before it's clipping and then that's good enough. And lastly, I've got Ozone 9 just on the maximizer. And this setting here, the IRC IV on the transient setting is just something that I like. And then for whatever reason, I found that 1.2 in this character slider sounds pretty good. And then I just have the threshold down to make it as loud as I need it to be. And then at the very end, I have this loudness meter from Ulean. And yeah, I just checked the loudness. I think I aimed for like -7 LUFS, but whatever, do whatever you want. And that's the master chain. And I think that's the whole thing. Cool and epic. I'll do a few shout outs. Firstly, shout out to Kenny. I've been entering this battle, like I said, for about 2 years now, on and off. I started producing in late summer 2020, and one of my first exposures to music production was Kenny's stream. I think I can confidently say now that Kenny's Discord and stream has changed my life forever. I've always been a musician, I've always been really into music, but I never really knew I could produce music until I checked out his stream. So thank you, Kenny. I'm sure I'm not the only one who has been affected by Kenny's Discord and stream. There's gonna be a long line of producers and musicians and artists that all stem from that Discord, which is insane. Next, I have to shout out Memblem. So I discovered the Memblem community about a year ago, and before I discovered that community, I didn't really know what I was doing, posting random beats, didn't have much direction, and Memblem was one of the first people to really support me. And then on top of that, I've met some of my best producer friends from Memblem's community. We actually started our own producer collective called Irisgrove. We have a Discord, we release music, all of them are insane. So shout out to Memblem, shout out to Irisgrove. And honestly, this entire Twitch/Discord community has been so encouraging. It's made me think, like, if I could do this in 2 years, then, you know, what does 5 years look like? What does 10 years look like? What does 20 years look like? I genuinely think I could do this for the rest of my life. I just love music that much. And to find community that feels the same way is life-changing. You can find me on SoundCloud at Todd Champ. I post pretty regularly on there. I also post semi-regularly on TikTok and Instagram. I also stream on Twitch. I just started streaming on Twitch recently. Right now, every week, I'm recording a beat video on stream and then editing it as like a beat video series. It usually happens every Sunday afternoon around 3 or 4 Eastern time. And that's all I've got. Cool. Thanks again. Have a good day. And eat more chicken biscuits, I guess.